You are live with the App Show. Mike Agerbo here. I've got a couple app buddies with me today, Graham Williams, John Biehler. We've got a great show. It's going to be kind of themed around the coronavirus and what you can do to while the hours away, whether that's working from home or just spending time at home. We'll be talking with the folks over at Zoho. They've got a great suite of apps that'll let you work remotely for free right now, right into July. They've got some really cool little apps, everything from video conferencing to messaging to word processing, webinars. We'll be talking with the folks there about that. We'll also cover some of the entertainment news as far as apps and shows and movies. You've probably got some time on your hands. We're going to tell you some of the good stuff to binge and check out. And some of our favorite game apps as well. Let's look at some of the app news right now. John, you brought this to my attention. For those people concerned about toilet paper, I can't for the life of me find any in any store that I've gone into. I think within a week, things will become dire at the Agerbo household. Already my daughter is starting to get a little anxious. John, is there a way to figure out how much toilet paper we have left and how long it'll last?
Strangely, you should ask that, Mike. There is. Someone built a website called howmuchtoiletpaper.com. And if you go there and you tell it how many rolls of toilet paper you have and how many visits per day you use, it'll calculate how long you're going to be covered for a 2-week self-isolation quarantine. And I'm sure a few people will have a few thousand days worth of supply, and other people like yourself will be going to t-shirts very quickly.
Have you tried this app?
Yeah, it's just a website. Yeah, and it's actually kind of fun. I actually literally calculated how much toilet paper I have, and I'm good for 116 days, apparently, minimizing my usage of toilet paper. So I'm good for a long haul.
You know what the good thing, Graham, here is? I know where John lives.
I apparently am good for 98 days right now. So that's...
Oh, you've used it too?
Yeah, I just logged in here. I've got 364% of my quarantine is what it tells me. That's not including...
Sorry, how many days?
98.
98 days.
Yeah, so that's not including strategies like go to the bathroom before you get in the shower. So...
Oh, gross.
Well, if you click on the advanced tab, you can actually adjust how many times and how many wipes and all those types of things, but we won't go into those details.
There's been a big boom in bidets as well.
Yes.
Right?
I think we're losing most of our listeners right now. No, but let's continue. Yeah, bidets are a big thing.
Yes. And this is the thing. It used to be the bidet was sort of that European thing that no one ever talked about, but they've been popping up. I actually had one in my old home. I had one in each of the bathrooms. It took probably about 20 minutes to install. And it was kind of like one of the low end cheapy models. So I'm going to be making an order for one of the better ones now that they're powered. So they heat the water, they heat the seat. It's got an automatic light that turns on as you approach. It's very much a high end restroom experience. So that's, yeah.
Well, that could change. Well,
yeah, I've had one for a while too, and it's like Graham. I had one of the lower end ones, and I have been eyeing the more fancy ones after seeing some friends post about it and how they're worried about the toilet paper shortage.
When we were over in Europe, John, a lot of the bathrooms are like we did some Airbnbs. They've actually got a separate little. I guess what do they call that? Is that a bidet? No.
Yep.
Yeah,
that'd be a bidet.
That's a bidet. Yeah.
Yep.
When I first saw them
kind of looks like a toilet.
Yeah, when I first saw them last year, I was traveling with one of our camera guys. I'm not going to mention his name, but we were in this place. I think it was in Prague, and we had no idea what that thing was.
That's the weirdest water fountain I've ever seen.
Well, it's right. It was beside the toilet, so he just kept peeing in it because he thought it was a urinal. And then, finally, I think I asked Christina, who, is traveling right now. I sent her a picture. What is this? Because she's from Bulgaria.
Yes.
And she's
cultured.
Like, it's a bidet, Mike. And I'm like, oh. Guess you're not supposed to pee in it.
Lord.
It's pretty gross. Yeah.
Back to the app news.
Back to the app news. Yeah, we've got A good show for you. Coming up shortly, we'll be talking with the friends over at Zoho. They've got this great suite of apps. It's free till July, and it's got everything you need to work from home. It's actually really good. Everything from video conferencing to messaging to word processing, spreadsheets. If you want to do webinars or training, they've got it all. And again, you can use it free through the web, which is kind of a cool thing. We'll also be talking about some of the good TV shows and movies to check out, and some of our favorite game apps as well. Don't forget to hit our website if you want to enter our weekly contests. Right now, we're giving away a Google Nest Mini. GetConnectedMedia.com. Go to the newsletter tab, and if you subscribe, you're automatically entered to win. And the great thing is, you're entered to win all of the contests throughout the year. And we are literally giving away thousands of prizes. Again, GetConnectedMedia.com. Hit the newsletter tab and subscribe to win. When we come back, how to work from home the easy way. You are back with the App Show. Mike Agerbo here in studio. Continuing to talk about apps and technology to not only work remotely, but also to while the hours away if you're in self-isolation. Right now, we want to talk about working remotely. Of course, there's a lot of different programs and apps that are available out there. We want to talk about a cool one we came across, or a suite of them anyway, from Zoho. That's spelled Z-O-H-O. On the line, we've got Chandra Shekar from Zoho. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you, Mike, for having me on the show. Appreciate it.
I want to talk about your remotely suite, but before we get into that, just maybe a quick description or what your company is all about and how long it's been around.
Absolutely. So Zoho is a company that's been around for the last 24 years, and we've been profitable from the first year of our business. So we make a lot of cloud-based services, and we have over 45 different products that we make for businesses.
Right now, we will talk about remotely. This is a suite of different apps to allow people to work from home. And from what I understand, you're offering this up free right now into July.
That is correct, Mike. Well, Zoho Remotely was something that we assembled remotely. All of us have been working. The company has gone with the remote work policy from the end of February. And as of the 1st of March, we did not have the suite. By 6th of March, we decided we're going to club a whole lot of tools that we had used for our remote work purpose and assemble that as a bundle and made it available for anybody who wants to explore the possibilities of working remote. And we will be taking a position on whether or not to continue that beyond that point based on how things shape up.
So let me get this straight. You put this together, inside of a week?
Yes, we did.
Obviously, these apps are probably based on some of the ones you have existing now.
We actually had these services available for close to 5 or 6 years. Some of them have been existing for over a decade right now. What we did was we assembled them in a meaningful way that businesses can start using it across the board and come collaborate and do project management or do video conferencing and enable remote work.
Well, this obviously comes at a good time, even with our work now. More and more of our employees are working from home, and I think probably by next week they all will be. But the challenge is, how do you keep business going? How do you keep in touch? Talk about some of the apps that are part of the Remotely suite.
Absolutely. In fact, the way we would actually take a look at Remotely is different categories. So when it comes to working remotely, the first piece of it is communication. How do you communicate with your employees, with the workforce? So it's instant communication, where we have something for internal communication, and then there is something for external communication, which is called the Zoho Meeting product, where you can use it for web conferencing, video conferencing, and even doing webinars. And then there is another aspect of Zoho Meeting, which is to do, or another product in the suite called Showtime, which you can use for training. So when it comes to communication, there's internal and external, and we address that using Zoho Meeting, Zoho Click, and Zoho Showtime. Then when it comes to collaboration, there are 3 different aspects again. So sharing documents or files, and then project management. If you're a company that wants to work on projects and you want to kind of do the traditional waterfall based project management, we have what's called Zoho projects that's included in remotely. And if you're into agile practices, then you have Zoho sprints that's included in remotely. And Zoho sprints is also a part of remotely. So that's the collaboration piece. The third aspect of remotely is remote assistance. What if you are into the IT business and you want to do desktop sharing and screen sharing and help people with IT issues? Then there is the whole notion of field services, people out there, plumbers and technicians who are going to be out there, and they want to be showing what's happening on the field. So that's where Zoho Lens comes in, where you turn and stream everything from your phone over to someone who's sitting at an office or the home office and trying to help people to fix issues. So that's what Zoho Lens would do. So that's with remote assistance. And finally, it's productivity. Things like word processor, spreadsheet, and presentation software that's included, that's a part of the bundle.
Just quickly on the word processor, spreadsheet, and presentation. Obviously, we all kind of use different programs, whether that's kind of the Apple ecosystem, with Pages and Keynote, and on the Microsoft side, Word and Excel. What's the compatibility like? Bringing those files into these programs.
It's definitely compatible with most of the softwares out there, and you can bring in and export it into the Zoho format, and from Zoho format, you can convert it into your format of choice.
Getting over to the meeting side, and this is kind of an important thing. It's always good to have that face-to-face, communication. And obviously, when you're working in an office, that's not a problem. You can have a meeting down in the boardroom or coffee shop. How many people can access, the video component of the meeting app?
So as far as the number of attendees are concerned, in a meeting, you can have as many as 100 people come into a meeting. But if you're doing a webinar, we had a webinar last week where we had close to 400 people joining the webinar session. So, yeah.
Pretty powerful. And as far as messaging, how do you handle that?
So the messaging piece, internal communication, like I said, we have what's called the Zoho Click, which allows you to not just do instant messaging on your mobile and your desktop. It also supports audio conferencing and audio calls and video calls. So let's say you're having a conversation with someone who is within your organization. You don't have to go to Zoho Meeting. You can just go into Zoho Click from your desktop, or you can even do a video call with them.
We're talking with Chandra Shekar. He's with Zoho, spelled Zoho. They're offering their remotely suite of apps during the pandemic here, which will be free at least till July 1st, 2020. And hopefully things will be better by then. Where can people access this, Chandra Shekar?
They just have to go to zoho.com/remotely, and you will have the ability to sign up and start using it straight away.
Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you very much for having me on the show. Appreciate it.
Still lots more to talk about here on the App Show. If you need to while the hours away once you've finished your work, we're going to tell you some of the best shows and movies that you can binge while you're at home. And later on, some of the best games and activities that you can access as well. You're listening to the App Show here on the Chorus Radio Network. Back after this. You are back with the App Show. Mike, Graham, and John here talking all about the coronavirus and the different types of apps and tech you can use to not only get work done, but also relax as well. I want to talk about entertainment. Obviously, we're going to have some time on our hands as we're going to be spending a lot more time at home. And it was interesting, some of the news right now. We mentioned on GetConnected, our sister show yesterday, that Disney was releasing Frozen 2 months earlier. They've done that with Star Wars as well. And one of the big movie companies, Universal, is basically releasing movies that they have in theater right now, or that were in theater, because the theaters are shut. You can get them on demand right away.
This is sort of an interesting play because typically in the past, they've avoided doing this in order to not alienate the theaters. It's been this bit of a, power push back and forth. You want to give people the things that they want, but you also want your movie shown in theaters. And if you push things direct to home release without going through them first, they're going to stop screening your movies. And so now with theaters being shut down, across North America, this is actually kind of the first opportunity that one of these companies has to look at this and go, is this actually a reasonable revenue stream where we could possibly worry about weathering that if it did come to it?
Well, we'll have to see. So let's talk about some of our favorite shows that we would recommend people watch while they have some time. For me, I'll start. Westworld season 3 is just coming out now. And so if you haven't checked this out, this is a great series. Anthony Hopkins is in it. A number of other great actors based on the movie with Yul Brynner back in the 70s, but obviously updated and super cool. So they've actually got 2 seasons already done that you can binge.
Now, are they releasing this one episode at a time, or are they doing the whole?
Season 3 they are, yes.
Yeah.
But you've got 2 seasons to get caught up on if you haven't checked it out.
Fair enough.
It's also worth noting, too, that one of the co-creators of it is Jonathan Nolan, Christopher Nolan's brother, and Lisa Joy is the other creator. And they have just sort of knocked it out of the park as far as what our sort of close future might look like, and also what our Android future might look like. So it's really worth checking out if you're even remotely interested in science fiction at all. And
you don't have to be, because the story is so good in there, but it is kind of freaky.
Yeah.
Thinking about where technology could go if we let it.
Yeah.
And of course we will.
I've only seen to the end of the first season, which I found was a very dramatic conclusion. I thought it was great.
Yeah.
But I kind of season 2 came out and I watched the first 10 minutes and got distracted by something shiny and just haven't come back yet. So I think there's an opportunity there to get caught up.
John, what's a show or series you'd recommend?
I really love The Americans. If you can catch that somewhere, there's I forget how many seasons they have, but it was one of my favorite shows that was episodic in that it was only released every week. And I just love that show. It's completely done now, so it does come to a conclusion. But it's basically about a couple of Russian spies that are embedded in the U.S. during the Cold War. And it's seeing the world through their eyes in America in the 80s. And it's a fantastic series. I highly recommend checking out.
Graham, what do you got?
I've got a couple for you. So there is on Apple TV, Servant.
So good.
M. Night Shyamalan. And so this was an interesting thing. Obviously, they released it episodically week after week, and now it's all available to watch all at once.
And you know what the bad thing about it is? There's not enough episodes. Like how many episodes were there? Like 10?
Other 8 or 10, yeah. And I mean, I found rarely am I interested in appointment television, but I'm finding now with the way that they're releasing shows, it gets released at a certain time, but I can come back anytime within the next day or so, whenever I want, and watch it. So that's a good one. It's very much it's interestingly shot. The acting is again fascinating. The whole plot is it's a challenging show where sometimes you're just like, what is going on here?
Isn't one of the actors the guy from Harry Potter, the redhead?
Yes, Rupert Grint is in it, and I think he does a great job.
Oh, he's amazing.
Yeah. So that one's a good one. The other one, I've actually got 2 more. Star Trek Picard.
Do you like it?
On Crave TV, I am liking it. Speaking of androids, I find as fan service, John's not liking it, but his opinion really doesn't matter. It has given us an opportunity to get back in touch with some characters. I think that a lot of us had thought we'd said goodbye to a long time ago.
Yeah, a lot of the characters from Star Trek: The Next Generation that we watched in
back
the 90s.
In the 90s, yeah. And
I was glued to that.
Yeah. So I'm quite enjoying it. I do things where it hasn't quite finished yet. We're approaching the climax. There's been some great stuff that's gone on there. The last one, actually, speaking of delightfully dystopian futures, is Altered Carbon. And so this is a show that's shot in Vancouver, and it's about a protagonist who consciousness has been digitized. They're in these little chips that are in the back of your neck. And if you die, they can grow you a new body and stick this chip in, and ta-da, you're back.
I would love that.
Right?
Because I want to live forever.
And so in the first season has one actor, I can't remember his name for the life of me. The second season has Anthony Mackie from Avengers. He plays Falcon. And this show, it's great for a couple of things. One, it's beautifully shot. It's absolutely, this is very much a Blade Runner aesthetic. It's really great. I find the dialogue to be phenomenal. Like it's at the times it waxes poetic, and at times it's just like really gritty, almost film noir stuff. The action is great. And there's a character, because this is based on a series of books. There's a character that doesn't show up in the books, played by Chris Connor. He plays an AI version of Edgar Allan Poe. And I've got to say, one of the best performances I've seen on TV in a while. So you can spot Vancouver in it. See if you can spot places around the Lower Mainland. But what a great little show to try out.
If you do have HBO, a series that just finished, I think 10 episodes, The Outsider. It's probably one of the best series of TV that I've seen this year.
Okay.
So far. It's based on a Stephen King novel, and it is freaky and spooky. It's like a crime, murder mystery, kind of supernatural bent to it. The acting is phenomenal. I loved it. And so I would highly recommend that. John, you got another one for us?
Well, we talked about Star Wars being released a little early, Rise of Skywalker, and it's available on digital platforms to rent or to purchase. Make sure you check out the extras, though. The behind the scenes video content that they've provided is off the charts amazing. Arguably even better than the movie itself. There's a 2-hour featurette about the making of the movie, but also they intertwine all the callbacks to all the original trilogies as well. And you get to see a lot more detail about, going into the studio with John Williams to record all the new orchestrations, how he actually gets put into the movie itself, and all the neat things that they did. A little bit of a spoiler, kind of, but it is John Williams is in Rise of Skywalker in a little scene surrounded by props from all the movies he scored where he was Oscar nominated for. And it's a really cool little peek into that world. And they just did a fantastic job of showing how the movie was made, but also how all the different actors and people involved in the film feel about this being the last one of the 9 movie series as well.
That's weird. I thought there were only 6. The triple trilogy is actually on sale for $99 right now. So 6 movies for $100, not bad.
Or 9, depending. Okay, we're going to have to take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk about some of our favorite games that we're playing right now to, I guess, have some fun during our off time in self-isolation. You're back with the App Show. Mike Agerbo here with Graham and John, talking about different apps and tech we can use during the pandemic here. Obviously, a lot of us will be spending extra time at home. I want to talk about some of the lighter side of apps, some of the games that we can try out. John, I'm going to start with you. What are you recommending?
Well, I'm a huge fan of all the Jackbox game packs that you can get. And the great thing about these are literally like family-friendly games, or not family-friendly, more adult-themed games, trivia games, that kind of thing that you can play together using your smartphone as your controller, basically. And it's available on literally every platform I can think of. You can get it on all of your gaming consoles. You can get it on your computer. You can even install it on a Fire TV stick. And I think it's even available on Apple TV as well as an app for purchase. And the nice thing is they have these game packs. I think there's 5 of them right now. Each one has between 5 and 6 games that you can then play. And everyone gets a code on the screen, and then on their phone, they go to a website, they log into that code, and then they can put in their name, and then they show up as a player in the game on the main screen. And then you get trivia questions, you get different kinds of activities you can do. It's super fun. I play it all the time, and you can't not literally have a sore stomach from laughing so hard from some of the games that you can play in it. And I also been trying to figure out how can we do this remotely. And all you need to do is someone has to host the game on, an Xbox or a Nintendo or whatever. And then you just point someone's phone or camera at that screen and then have a live Facebook Live video and share that with your friends, they'll see the game code on their screens, and then on their smartphones, they can then watch or join the game, and you can play remotely that way as well. And some of these games, you can actually have up to 100 players, which is kind of crazy when you think about it. But generally, for the trivia games and that kind of thing, they sort of top out about 6 or 8 players. So it's a super fun game. You can get the packs for anywhere from a couple of bucks for one game up to about $10 or $20 for a whole pack. And that's 5 or 6 games. And it's a whole lot of fun.
I got to tell you, I love that series, the Jackbox games. Like you're saying, it's all sorts of different games, from the trivia games, drawing games like the Pictionary type. It's amazing. Like I've played them when we've had friends and family over, and you can play these things for hours, and everyone, no matter how much they hate games or they don't want to do them, they all end up playing them. They are just amazing. And I play them on Apple TV, which is great. Like you said, I mean, it's available on pretty well all different types of formats out there. So the fact that you've come up with that little hack to play it remotely, I think that is super cool. What do you got, Graham, as far as games right now to while the hours away?
The big one came out on March 20th, and that is Doom Eternal.
Doom Eternal.
So back in 1993.
How old is that game? How old is that game? I remember that.
Back in 1993, id Software released this incredible first-person shooter game called Doom. And it shaped my life. It really did.
Yeah.
So it's been going as a series for quite some time. We saw Doom 2 in 1994, and then we saw Doom 3 in 2004. In 2016, they rebooted the Doom series and to just massive critical acclaim. This thing it's ridiculous. It is a gory, visceral first-person shooter. I believe it is rated M for mature. This is not T for teen by any means. So if you've got kids, they shouldn't be playing it without your guidance, of course. But this is the latest version of it. They've been working on it, obviously, for 4 years. And it is absolutely incredible. It's just great arcade madness where you go up against the denizens of hell as they try to take over the universe, and you're the only one who can stop them. Truly a classic story.
What platforms?
It is available for PC on Steam. It is available for PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and for Nintendo Switch. So there's a full gamut of your platforms, and Google Stadia, oddly enough. So for the 3 of you out there who are using Google Stadia, it is available for you to play.
Cool.
Yeah.
Fun fact about Doom is that it is typically the original Doom that you mentioned, Graham, is typically the first thing people try to put on a new platform. And people have ported Doom because the original version is open source. They ported it on all kinds of crazy pieces of technology, everything from like graphing calculators to price checkers, you see like at Walmart, to computers, Raspberry Pis, you name it. It's kind of a fun little thing. It's like if you can get Doom working on it, you can run anything.
Exactly.
Okay, I'm going to tell you my favorite game right now.
Yep.
And I think I've been playing this, I don't even know how long when it first came out. Remember Age of Empires?
Yes.
This thing came out. When did this thing come out? I think like early 2000s. It's old now. Anyway, they've kind of kept it. Microsoft came out with this. This is basically where you choose like a civilization, whether you're like the
Phoenicians or the Greeks
the
or
English, and you start from like the Dark Ages, building up your little town and your little armies. And you've got all these little guys on there. You got to have some of them do farming. Some of them are going to dig for gold.
Some of them become soldiers.
And I mean, cavalry and all this kind of stuff. And you go up through the Castle Age and finally to the Imperial Age. Yeah. You never get to modern age. But I've been addicted to this crazy game for so many years. And you know what's the beautiful thing? They keep updating it.
Yes.
They keep adding these new add-ons and upgrades, and now they've come out with like the HD version of this. My kids think I'm nuts, right? Because of all the games out there, I'm playing this game that's like 15 years old.
From 1997.
Okay. That's how old is that? That's 23 years old?
Yes, it is.
Oh my God. But anyway, this new version, they've just come out with a definitive edition. You can get it on Steam. Mm-hmm. That's, if you're on Windows, and it is freaking amazing. I just can play that thing for hours. Like, an entire night will go by, and it's awesome.
Can I tell you a little secret?
Okay.
So back in the mid-90s, Microsoft had a beta program and an alpha program for games like this. I actually have an alpha copy of Age of Empires that still works on disk at home. I will bring it in for you.
Oh my God, that would be like my dream come true.
Done.
Okay, we're going to have to take a break. When we come back, one more segment. It's App of the Week time. Stay tuned. You're back with the App Show. Time for one last app. It's the App of the Week. Graham, what do you got?
So this is actually a software program that you can run on your computer, and it's not an app so much as being part of a research program. There's something called folding at home. Now, I've been doing this since
Like
2006. It's a little bit like that. It's protein folding. And basically what it is, it's a series of complex calculations that is done by the powerful computing hardware in your computer to help scientists do things like isolate how things like the coronavirus behave. And so folding at home is actually throwing its processing power at the coronavirus right now. Now, inside your computer, you've got your processor, which is pretty powerful. But in a lot of cases, your video card, if you've got a standalone video card or you've got one of the more complex integrated ones, it's really good at doing this kind of math. And so you load this software program, this app on, and you join folding at home and direct your software towards this program. What this will do is it will give your computing power to the program to help see if we can get closer to finding a vaccine for this. It's incredibly worthwhile. The PlayStation 3 actually launched a folding at home app at one point and was incredibly helpful as they made strides towards getting some research done. So give this a shot. Folding @home. Look for that on Google. You'll be able to download it.
That's all the time we have left. I want to thank all the folks that helped put the show together. Graham, Stephen, John, Christina, and the others. This is Mike Agerbo logging off. We'll see you again next time.